The number one thing stopping you from becoming a better musician is lack of motivation. You know that feeling you get when you look at your instrument in the corner and you're like, I don't really actually want to play you? Yeah, that kind of lack of motivation. Now, the best musicians in the world are the ones that are continually motivated, continually excited to play their instrument, and literally cannot wait until the next time they get their hands on it. So if you want to become more like them, let's go over some tips that will help you stay motivated to continually practice your instrument. Hey there, Brent here from Learn Jazz Standards. Let's go over these 7 tips that will help you stay motivated to practice your instrument so that you can improve time and time again. And these are things that my Learn Jazz Standards Inner Circle members are doing all of the time to improve their jazz playing, so I want you to do them too. If you want to stay motivated to practice as a musician, you need to first eliminate toxic feelings you have about music. When I talk about toxic feelings, I'm talking about any feeling that creates a disconnect or a feeling of discomfort about playing music. In other words, if we associate bad feelings with playing our instrument, the likelihood that we are going to continually want to play our instrument is going to diminish, especially over time. What are some toxic feelings we could have about playing our instrument? Well, if you've ever had thoughts like, ooh, I'm not talented enough, I'm not near as good as this person that plays at this jam session, wow, I suck, I can't seem to ever get this, my fingers are too big to play my instrument, I'm too old, I'm too young, I'll never get to the next level, I've been at the same level for forever. These sorts of feelings give you these negative associations with music and learning music and playing your instrument. So how do we get rid of these toxic beliefs? 2 ways. Number 1, substitute them for positive feelings and positive beliefs, such as, hey, everything's an experiment on my instrument, right? Like instead of, oh, I suck at doing this, it's like, oh, that's not the right way to do that. Let's try another way. Or, hey, I'm not as good as this other musician. No problem, because hanging around with this person is going to help me play at a higher level over time. Substituting positive feelings instead of toxic ones is of course easier said than done. It's really a long-term game of reorienting how you think about music and playing music. And that can take a lot of time, energy, and effort, but it's worth it. The more we can associate positive feelings and thoughts towards playing our instrument, the more motivated we are going to be over time to play. The second way to get rid of toxic feelings is to be aware of them when they come up. So if you're having negative thoughts about the way you play, about your instrument, about the style of music you're trying to learn, like we do jazz over here, just recognize that they're happening. The moment that you are aware they're happening, you can start to substitute them for more positive feelings and associations. In general, try to make playing music light and not so serious. The more serious that you make playing music and learning music and getting better, the less likely you're going to have positive associations with it. And we want that for long-term motivation. If you want to stay motivated to practice, then you need to stop when things get too hard. Bear with me for a second, because I know that might sound a little controversial. You know, they say when the going gets tough, keep on going. No, stop. Don't keep on going. Meaning, like, if you're getting way too frustrated practicing something and it's boiling your blood and you're really unhappy and those negative, toxic feelings are coming up about playing your instrument again, you are far better off stopping and trying something else, moving on to something else, than continuing hammering away in those feelings, if we're talking about staying motivated to practice. This is just simple psychological science here. It's not just me saying this. This doesn't mean that when we face challenges in music, we should stop and run away, because everybody knows that if we don't overcome challenges and do hard things when it comes to becoming better musicians, we'll never actually improve. But at the same time, if you continue doing something and getting super frustrated and upset and just keep doing it, it's not going to help you. If you switch to something else, try a different approach, try a different strategy, look at it in a different way, then perhaps there's a breakthrough somewhere else that's going to help you get to the other side. In other words, don't keep hammering through a brick wall, just go around it. If you want to stay motivated to practice as a musician, you need to set up for yourself musical projects, regular musical projects. When I surveyed my inner circle members about what keeps them motivated to practice, this was the number one thing that they said kept them motivated to practice long term. Now, we don't want to just set up musical projects. We want to set up musical projects that set us up to win every single time. So what's an example of a musical project? Well, for example, in our Inner Circle membership, we learn one new jazz standard every month. So a new song every single month. That's a project. Sometimes we learn solos. That's a project. Sometimes some of our members work on chord melodies. That's a project. Sometimes they're bigger projects, like learning 10 songs, and then you have smaller projects in between, like learning one song, and then you have smaller projects in between, like learning the melody of a song and then the chords of a song. But a musical project that sets you up to win every single time is one that you can accomplish every single time. What happens when you accomplish a project is it triggers the reward centers of your brain and it makes you want to continue, aka stay motivated to practice. When you continually start projects and don't finish them, or just have no projects at all, you feel aimless, you feel like you're failing, and therefore you lose motivation. So when you're actually accomplishing musical projects and seeing yourself actually improve every single time you do, you're gonna get excited about playing and you're gonna be totally jumping to play your instrument every single time you see it. If you wanna stay motivated to practice as a musician, then you need to have a plan. One big reason that you lose motivation to practice is because you don't actually really know what you're doing and how you're gonna reach your musical goals. Now that seems so obvious, but just do a quick audit of your own practice sessions right now and ask yourself, how often when you sit down with your instrument, do you actually know what you're going to do? Or does your 30-minute, 45-minute practice time you have just kind of melt away with you noodling around and playing the same old stuff you've always played and never getting better? That's a lot of us. So it's important you have some sort of plan. And the best plan, by the way, is one that's not overly complicated. Because the more complicated we make our plan, the less likely we're going to execute on it. So an example of a really simple plan would be, oh, okay, my musical project is to learn a new song. The first thing I need to do is learn the melody. In today's practice session, I'm going to learn the first 8 bars of the melody by ear. That's a plan, and then the second practice session, you create a new plan that builds off of the first plan that you did. So it doesn't have to be complicated, just something really simple that at least makes you feel organized, and doing small things that have you accomplishing something and trigger the reward centers of your brain continually so that you continue to stay motivated. If you want to stay motivated to practice as a musician, it's important that you have really quality resources available to you. When I asked my Inner Circle members what keeps them motivated to practice, one thing that surprised me that most of them said was having really good quality resources helps them stay motivated to practice. And what I mean by that is having great handouts, PDFs that have you learning exercises and songs, or having courses available to you, or having different resources that give you material to work on. If you think about that, that makes a lot of sense. Like, how excited do we often get when we purchase something new, right? It's not just the idea of purchasing something, it's what that thing can give you, that initial excitement. But then it's, of course, the feeling of support that you have later. For example, I probably am not alone in being someone who has way too many media subscriptions under my name, meaning I have Netflix, Hulu, Max, and a ton of other ones. The reason I can't seem to cancel them is because every once in a while, I really want to watch a show that's on one of those subscriptions. And just knowing that I have all of these shows available to me helps me feel like I have a lot of entertainment to choose from. I know it seems so funny to say, but when we have resources available to us, it helps us stay motivated to practice, to feel the support of we have good stuff to work on, we have good pathways, we have good courses, we have good processes to help us learn, versus not having resources available to us, which makes us feel more alone, unsupported, and in need of help. If you want to stay motivated to practice as a musician for the long term, you need to have some sort of community around you. Community is absolutely massive when it comes to long-term motivation as a musician. Think about playing with other musicians, right? If you have no one to play with, then automatically you're not going to be near as motivated to practice. For example, a lot of my inner circle members tell me that what keeps them motivated to practice is having a jam session that they go to regularly, or a group of friends that they get to jam with regularly, sometimes a gig, or just an online community like we have in our inner circle for them to engage with and share their practicing with. But when you're alone by yourself in the practice room, just by yourself practicing, and there's really no reason for what you're doing to share it with other people, you lose motivation. You don't feel as supported, and you don't feel like you're working towards something greater than yourself. Community is so important to music, especially jazz, which is such a social kind of music. So having a community around you is going to help you stay motivated for the long term. If you want to stay motivated to practice as a musician for the long term, you need to be continually looking for musical inspiration. To give you an example, I recently went to a conference, and of course, after you go to conferences, you can feel super excited and motivated to execute on the things that you just learned, and you're motivated by how great the people at the conference were that you learned from. And honestly, that's a big reason why people go to events like this. So as musicians, we need to be doing the same thing and getting excited and getting that inspiration from others. This could be going to jazz shows of your favorite musicians. This could be listening to records at home. This could be watching YouTube videos of your favorite musicians. This could be taking a lesson from a musician that really inspires you. Really anything that you notice you get a lot of positive energy from when you engage in this activity, and afterwards you feel like you really want to play some music. Pretty much every single time I go to a really great jazz show here in the New York City area, I come home and I get right back on my guitar because I'm like, wow, that was so cool. I can't believe how they played this and they did this. And it's almost like that energy that I got is channeled into my instrument. But of course, after time, that fades away. And so we continually have to be refueling, like we're going to a gas station, refueling our tank with more musical inspiration. And that keeps us going for the long term and staying motivated. And by the way, if you're a jazz musician and you need some help staying motivated to practice for the long term, then go check out our Learn Jazz Standards Inner Circle. I'll have that on the screen up here right now, and also leave it down in the description down below. We got community in there. We've got great courses and materials. We learn new jazz standards every single month, aka projects that you can work on. And we just have a lot of fun around there, aka positive feelings versus toxic feelings. Hey, if you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.